What's up, guys? I'm SaltEMike, and this is your Star Citizen Week in Review for March 6th, 2023. 3.18 is still not on the live servers, but it's right around the corner. Reputation might play a much bigger role for us players way sooner than never, and we're still hearing about those maybe, possibly, could be missions and gameplay that we'll see at the underground bunkers that we saw at CitizenCon. All that and more on today's Week in Review. And as always, if this is your first week in review, this is where I take all of the official Star Citizen news each week, put it into one video, and share some of my opinions about it. I also live stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/SaltEMike, every day but Monday, so I can get this video out to you guys. But we do have quite a bit to get through this week, so let's jump into some patch notes. And we had 5 patches this week, one for every single day. And starting out with Monday and the 890 jump mission, they fixed a couple issues around that. One specifically where you could fly the thing. Also, a major issue for me was borderless mode. If my mouse went off the screen, everything kind of fell apart. So they fixed that one for Tuesday. They fixed more issues with trams and trains where we were falling through them, as well as the elusive invisible cargo issues with the cargo grid systems. 11 crashes were fixed as well, and the builds were incredibly crashy until this point. For the Wednesday patch, they fixed AI standing on chairs again, which we all know probably isn't fixed. They may have fixed invisible minables for miners, which could be a big win there because that has been a bug that has plagued them for a very long time. And they also fixed a bug where if you took a screenshot, the game would crash. They should have left that one. Maybe Reddit would actually talk about the gameplay instead of just taking screenshots. That would be sick. Thursday patch, another attempt at the invisible cargo situation, and I think claim jumper missions were causing some issues here, so they decided to disable them to see if it fixes the server stalls, which were horrible around this time. And then Friday, they fixed a big issue around ASOP terminals, which was destroying ships. They are really trying to find these performance issues through the weekend. With that said, there was this homestretch post, and that they had a stress test this weekend, and it is through today, Monday. And for those that tested, thank you for that. I had family in town. I wasn't able to get on and play very much. And given it's the first week of March, we had a February monthly report, and as always, we start out with AI tech. NPCs can now use elevators and trains, as we've seen them working in previous monthly reports. They will also look to sit down during transit. They can also push and pull trolleys now. The most interesting thing of this update is around these things they called boids, which they're enabling small groups of creatures like birds, fish, and rats. For ship art, the Argo SRV is in final art phase and is expected to have a go no-go meeting this month. They had an unannounced ship head into final art phase. A new variant also moved through the pipeline in February, which probably isn't the Antares because it seems like it's already through, and not sure what this one might be. The Crusader Spirit is still in gray box, and the Hull C is still being worked on, as well as the Freelancer to have some internal components there. And lastly, the Santokiai is in its gray box phase. Arena Commander features, they're still building up the foundation for the games, as they've been left out in the rain for so long. They're also thinking of adding another Stanton racing location, and lastly, they're looking to get a proper all-atmospheric dogfighting arena, which I think is a much needed addition to Arena Commander. Obviously, there's 2 different types of locations you can dogfight in. One is in space and one is on planets. So getting not just one area on a planet that we can dogfight in Arena Commander, but multiple different types, because some moons have different levels of gravity and atmosphere, right? Then for character weapons and features, this one was cool. Lockers. They're starting to look into ways to display armor and weapons and anything that we can wear in lockers that we can interact with. And we should also be able to soon perform a reload with ammo in our backpacks rather than attached to our suits, so that's pretty cool. For gameplay features, more work on getting vehicle tractor beams where we need them, but the big thing for me is the possible ability to lock cargo and then unlock it to prevent people from just using tractor beams and removing cargo from your cargo grid if you don't want them to. Also, more work to what I think will eventually bring proper salvage to the game, which is attaching rules for ship items like quantum drives and weapons. And lastly, more of the very long road to the resource network and engineering gameplay. Mission features. They had talked about a lot of things already in the game, really. It was kind of weird here, but then they mentioned a few more mission types being prototyped, like the proper escort missions through QT. The biggest item here in the entire monthly report for me is that the mission team has now taken ownership of the clearly orphaned reputation system. So this system is the only way that we can create some form of progression and gameplay, in my opinion, in the current state of the game, and I cannot wait to see what they do with it. We even hear a slight bit about it in the video updates, so keep an ear out for that. EU locations, there was a new station mentioned, and it's named Seraphim Station. Just a user from Twitter really helped out with this one. It is the predecessor of Crusader Industries, so there is a chance that this is a new name for Port Olisar and the replacement for it, so that's kind of interesting to take a look at. And jump points in Stanton are completed as well, which implies that they are still moving towards the Pyro system, with all indicators pointing to the fact that we won't be there forever. They're also finalizing the areas that the new mining missions will be in, which is called Resource Rush. And then lastly, UI. The star map was mentioned again, but no end in sight for that there. I really want to see an ISC on this system and just the progress that they've made on it, because it's such an important feature for us. Now, with that said, we do have a little hints on some of these things from the monthly report in video updates, so let's check those out. Starting out, we had an Inside Star Citizen titled Underground Playground, and right away, we kind of have to start with where they are now with those underground bunkers that we saw at CitizenCon, and then got another update on a recent ISC.
This time I'm showing you where we're at currently in production. We're midway through White Box, and this for us is a good phase for locking down where we're at and where we want to go. It shows us that we can play the spaces, and you'll see that they are quite big, but our intention is to fill them, and missions that we could have kind of go along the lines of, yes, you've got your delivery missions, but also, maybe you're seeking out and protecting a VIP, maybe you're assassinating a VIP, maybe you're doing a bit of a heist, maybe you're just mining or resource collection.
And maybe I'm the king of England, but this is the way Star Citizen does things, like leaving a location, instead of leaving it in White Box and then working out all the gameplay that you can do there in White Box as well. They build out the complete location fully to final art and figure out what gameplay can fit in there later. I also spoke to Elliot from the mission feature team, who you may have seen on ISEs and SCLs and CitizenCon about the investigation missions, and he mentioned that he feels that this is a better way to do things because they can get inspired by the really cool art and beautiful locations to make really cool missions there. And they can always kind of fix little things to add to them to build up their missions if they need to, but it also is a good way of doing things because it inspires them. So a little back and forth there. They do a really nice flyby and landing to give the scale of the location, and man, it is massive. It feels almost too big, to the point where I feel like the location could almost be tedious to get to where you want to go. But then when they hit the lobby is when he mentions something quite interesting to me.
So this, when you first turn up to the UGF and your rep is, rock bottom, you're going to come here first. And this is kind of the introduction to whatever company owns the UGF. And you'll be getting some missions from in this place, but you can see it's quite going for that brutalist structure, but having all this glass kind of makes it so you can kind of let the outside in.
The fact that rep is already being mentioned after seeing the mission feature team taking over it in the monthly report is really exciting. It kind of implies that you'll have different routes or more interesting ways to interact with these locations by having higher rep. Then when he gets into the elevator, there's some commentary that might be important for some people in the Star Citizen community.
Now the depth of the the first sub-level is going to change in every UGF. That's going to be procedurally generated, a lot like the rooms as well.
I think it's important to note that they're trying to not make these locations very cookie cutter, even though, the underground locations that we have now and stations that he talked about in the video, well, I don't think they've really quite achieved that yet. Hopefully they can do that here with like much larger rooms and maybe some more variety. But right now, I don't think that we see truly unique locations, even though they are kind of cool looking, but they all sort of feel the same with just slightly different layouts, maybe. Next, we get some insight into the depth they have in mind with building these locations as well.
And this is a security checkpoint, so hopefully you've got the right credentials. You're going to get checked, you're going to get scanned. But what if you haven't got those credentials? Well, there are alternate routes in. Down here that you can see there's a little hatch, so maybe you're sneaking your way under the floor, or are you making your way over the top on piping?
I think this is a big step and kind of goes into the mission aspects of these locations, and they're spending a lot of time making those locations more interesting than what we currently have. Just already multiple entrances is a huge improvement on what we already have. And then we had a Star Citizen Live titled Talking VFX, and that is all it really was. There wasn't a lot of takeaways from this. It just was a couple guys talking about VFX, aside from when the lead started listing off everything that they're working on.
So start with our producers, who without our producers we couldn't get anything done. So Mark White, Callum Whiteley, this is for you guys. Thank you very much for producing us. This feels ridiculous, by the way. And then we got senior VFX concept artist. And by the way, I know everyone.
It's just hard to remember them all on live TV.
Live TV, it's precious. So we got Rob Lujan, who's our senior VFX concept artist. So Rob, you're awesome. So keep being awesome.
What's he working on though?
Oh, sorry, what's he working on? So Rob's actually, at the moment, he's working on some, am I allowed to say what he's working on?
Well, say it and then I'll tell you.
Okay, he's currently working on some quantum travel improvements. So he's working on concepts for different types of quantum travel.
No, you can't share that yet.
Okay, so that's that. And Rob's also doing loads of weapon stuff as well, so he's doing great work. We got the senior VFX artist, so we got Rory. I'm just going to go with first names, by the way. We've got Rory, we've got Karthik, we've got Ali, we've got Guillaume. These are all our kind of senior group. Rory, Karthik and Guillaume are all working on Squadron 42. You're doing a fantastic job on that, you are. Ali's working on Star Citizen, because we've basically got like half the artists on Star Citizen, half the artists on Squadron. I can't really go into much about what they're doing because it's all spoilers, but they're doing lots of locations, lots of destruction sequences, etc., etc. And then we've got VFX Artist 3, Ryad and Diego. Ryad's working on Star Citizen, doing some Lorville Skyline improvements at the moment. And we've got Diego, who is Mr. Houdini. So Diego doing loads of amazing stuff with destruction for Squadron 42. Again, can't go into too much details. Then we've got VFX Artist 2. We've got Joyce. Joyce is actually on maternity leave. Joyce works on Star Citizen and does everything. Ships, locations, feature work, weapons, all sorts of stuff. And then we've got VFX Artist 1 level. We've got Will Wallace, who's just come back from a career break, traveling the world. And Will is on Star Citizen, doing great work at the moment with the Mist Hull C. And then we've got Enrico, Nicolas, and they're both on Squadron 42, so I can't really go into too much detail about what they're doing, but there's lots of cool location stuff. And then we've got Ricardo, who has just joined us this week and is working on Star Citizen, so he's just onboarding. So we kind of do like an onboarding process that lasts a couple of weeks. It culminates with doing like a weapon effect. So welcome to the team, Ricardo. It's great to have you. And we've actually got 4 interns all the way from Sweden. We've got David, Kevin, Axel and Nazir, and they're 2 of them. Kevin and Axel are working on Squadron 42, and David and Nazir are working on Star Citizen. Nazir's doing like GPU conversions. David's working on MISC Fury. And then we got Jake, who is embedded QA. Jake just kind of keeps us all right. Anything that's not working, he highlights it. He helps us debug problems. So Jake, you're doing great. And then I'm going to hand over to you for the programmers, Leo.
So different types of QT. I don't know if this means what we already know from the CitizenCon update around the master modes, but maybe there's other things that we don't know about here because it's been taking quite a while and a lot of VFX work has been going into that. And then one of the interns is working on the MISC Fury. One of the takeaways here is Swedish interns. The other thing is that they said nothing else about it for the entire show. Nobody talked about it. Nothing. It's like it's like it never happened and never existed. The Reddit had a lot of fun with it though. And then there was a really nice interview with a gentleman who's I think currently working on Squadron named John Schimmel, and he's been with the project forever. And if you're into that kind of thing, feel free to check it out. It was very much Jared likes this guy and just wanted an excuse to talk to him, and I will take that opportunity to say I don't like the direction that SEL is going in. It's basically I preferred the days when we had a Q&A session with developers on features that we're interested in, and now we get how you join the company with certain developers and maybe touch on what they're working on, and then we get an interview with somebody else that Jared finds interesting and just wants to talk to for fun. And that is what some of you guys are into. I thought this interview was very interesting, but that doesn't mean that I don't think the show could be better or was better in the past. And I do think the old Q&A sessions with game developers was much, much better. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the direction of Star Citizen Live, because I think it really started off great the first few episodes that we had in the only constant, but I think it's really fallen off lately. But I also understand that 318 has taken 12 years to come out, so he really doesn't have much content to talk about anyway, right? So and then lastly, but yet leastly, basically, because we don't have much to talk about here, is other updates. And we had a sneak peek, which is clearly the Santokiai. And nothing wild here, but just better than another look at Pyro. And then we had a Galactapedia update where they talked about S-Pop, which is, you know, kind of like the K-pop version of Star Citizen, I guess. And then they also had some other interesting updates into basically companies and other things that I think even Quantanium was mentioned here in a little bit more detail than maybe we've ever heard it before. So more of an interesting Galactapedia update than we've seen in the past. But guys, as always, that is it for this week in review. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching it as much as I enjoyed making it. Make sure you leave a like down below if you did. Comment on anything we discussed today, and make sure you get subscribed for more weeks in review. I am recording this Sunday night as I am with family this week, and we're going to spend some time tomorrow morning. So if I did miss anything, comment down below about that stuff as well. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week.